Hi, I'm Stephanie, and welcome to the Magical Movie Club. Before we get started on the movie, I thought I would chat with you for just a little bit. Now, if you'd rather skip the chit-chat and go straight to the movie review, I'll put a timestamp below where you can just jump past this and go right into the intro. Okay, obviously I've been away for a while. And during Christmas, of all the times to fall behind, right? I know. Yeah, I got overwhelmed by the holidays. First it was Thanksgiving, and that might not seem like much, but Thanksgiving week has personally been my busiest week of the year. I do almost all of the cooking and preparing everything for the big day. I do it out of love, but it is also a lot of work. Then, after Thanksgiving, we had our big family vacation, which was my first time ever going to Europe. We had been planning this for about a year and a half, since before I even started this channel. Clearly, I didn't plan well for this. Let's see, we visited, just to give you an idea, 6 cities in 5 countries. It was an amazing trip of a lifetime, going to Prague, Dresden, Vienna, Budapest, just to name a few. But I had no idea just what jet lag could really do to the body, at least mine. It took another week or so to feel back to normal again, but by the time we got back, there were only 10 days left until Christmas, and I hadn't done anything to prepare. Oh, and did I mention I also work full-time during the week? Now, the only reason I'm sharing all of this is to let you know that I understand my shortcomings, and I'm making it sort of a New Year's resolution to not stretch myself quite so thin to the point of exhaustion anymore. I've been praying about it, and I have every intention to keep this going. I love making these videos, and I am not stopping now. If I had my choice, this would be all I do, but I don't make any money doing this yet. Who knows if I ever will? So far, it's just all for fun. But now the holidays are over, and I am so glad to be back where I can breathe a little easier. And even though I've missed a lot this month, I've decided to just start right with the movie that aired last week. And if I can make up some ground in between, I'll do that too. At the very least, at the end of this video, I will share my personal top 12 favorite Hallmark Christmas movies from past years. Most importantly, I want to thank you. As strange as it may sound, I do feel like I'm talking to you when I make these videos. I truly appreciate your being here, and I hope you had a very Merry Christmas. Now, are you ready? Let's get on with the video. Hallmark is winding down the Christmas season, and on December 28th, they aired Trading Up Christmas. It was also the last of the Miracles of Christmas movies that they aired on Hallmark Mystery on December 19th. Now, I'll admit I was not familiar with either of the lead actors, but I did recognize this name, Joey Botkin. She wrote it. Even though I've only been reviewing Hallmark movies a short time, that name has come up quite a bit this past year. Some of her other credits include Branching Out, Savoring Paris, and most recently, Our Holiday Story. Because I enjoyed every one of these, I came into this with some high expectations. And I don't know, this movie had so much potential. It was a great story. It's actually been done before in real life, and I'm sure that that's what inspired her to write this one. I don't know if it was the script or the acting or the directing. Okay, really, it was all 3 this time. As you can see, it didn't quite live up to my expectations. So, as we'll talk about it, I'll share with you my ideas for how I think that maybe this could have been a great movie. The movie opens with Michelle, played by Italia Ricci, hosting a children's read-along.
And today, we are reading one of my favorite Christmas stories.
In this video, she's discussing a book called The Most Magical Christmas Stocking. And in my opinion, this could have been a good title for the movie as well. She describes a special Christmas stocking that was given to her as a little girl by her grandmother. And, well, without that stocking, we wouldn't have a story.
Now, this stocking is able to make one wish come true on Christmas.
Michelle is very close to her family. Her dad's dream is someday owning a boat.
Ain't she a beaut?
Her sister is a single mom, and she owns this really cute home decor shop.
Hot chocolate for you.
Auntie Michelle!
Hi, baby.
Unfortunately, on this day, she received some bad news.
My landlord called this morning to tell me they're selling our building.
Now, Michelle has this need to always try to fix things for her sister.
I wish I could just win the lottery and buy you a house.
And later that night, when she was searching online for some cheap apartments, she came across a story about a boy who traded up a rubber band for a house. I mean, it didn't happen in one trade. It was gradually through a series of trades over 2 years. But Michelle gets all excited to give it a try herself.
Your enthusiasm is noted, but my point is, you could do this.
Now, her sister said she had to move out by February 1st. But oh no, Michelle insisted on setting her own deadline of Christmas.
This Christmas? The same Christmas that's 10 days away?
The only reason I can think of is that she wanted it to be her Christmas present to her. Otherwise, setting this artificial deadline didn't make a lot of sense to me. Okay, her sister reluctantly agrees under 2 conditions. 1, her daughter can't know anything about it, and 2, she insists on remaining anonymous.
And please, make it anonymous. I don't need people thinking I'm a charity case.
So now, this is where the stalking comes in. Michelle goes home and looks around for some anonymous items to offer for the first trade, and she decides on her own Christmas stocking. Next we meet Dan. He is a journalist for a newspaper called the Worcester Watch, and he's struggling to find a story that has meaning.
Well, you're the writer, Dan. It's your job to give a story meaning.
I know, I feel like that's becoming a little too cliche now. Well, the next morning after Michelle posts her article online, Dan's boss finds it.
Readers love this kind of story, so find her.
Well, Dan tries to meet with her in a couple of different ways. The first one, the direct approach. Yeah, that doesn't work. Although I will say that I enjoyed the way the scene was done. A little bit of fun music was playing while the two exchanged messages back and forth. Anyway, when the direct approach didn't work, he tried again. This time, he offered her his ugly Christmas sweater. And reluctantly, she accepted it. What we're about to find out, though, is she didn't realize that both of these messages were from the same guy. I don't understand how that's possible. I mean, aren't conversations typically continued in the same chain? Unless one was a text and one was an email, they don't actually explain that. Oh well, you'll see this next when they meet. When he tells her he's a journalist and wants to write a story about her, she gets upset that he lied to her.
Did you email me earlier today?
But she still does take the trade for the sweater.
You can keep your publicity, but I'll take your sweater.
Personally, I can't imagine why she wouldn't want any publicity, considering she needs people to trade with, and the more people who know about her situation, well, isn't that better for her cause? Meanwhile, Dan's boss keeps pressuring him to get the story, so Dan keeps needling Michelle. Reminding her that she hasn't much time? And since the offers she's getting are less than impressive,
Some nights work.
she finally accepts his offer.
And you're right, it probably will be good for my cause, so let's get it over with.
But, and if you've seen any other Hallmark movies, you know that this is what's eventually going to become the cause of their conflict near the end. Remember, she wants her sister to remain completely anonymous.
So, no digging. Deal?
Deal.
Also, I want to point something else out that Michelle said, and that was she knew the goal was to gradually trade things up.
So, a laptop or a gaming console, and then a vehicle.
I mention this because, as you'll see in a bit, other than the first half of the movie, there weren't all that many trades, and the ones they did have were really big. I would have liked there to have been more in the second half. You'll see.
Yeah, I'm gonna pick it up tonight. Thank you, bye.
They do make a couple of small trades early on, which is to be expected.
Perfect.
But as Dan points out, they're not really getting anywhere.
Despite the fact that your last 2 trades have done next to nothing.
Yes.
And notice Michelle is still being snarky with him. I wasn't a fan of that.
I don't know if you've been paying attention, but thinking outside the box is kind of my thing.
As a matter of fact, not even all the way up to the end did I feel any semblance of chemistry between these two. But I'm getting ahead of myself. From this point on, Dan kind of takes over for her. Rather than relying on random responses to her online post, which they were getting her nowhere,
This is intriguing,
Yeah?
but unhygienic.
Dan considers some of the people he knows and proactively reaches out to them.
Yeah, I think I do.
So, do we have a verdict?
Incidentally, that was pretty much all the humor this movie has to offer. I'm just saying. The next trade was finally a decent trade up.
Let me show you the snowmobile.
Yes.
And y'all can introduce me to Santa.
And let me point out, I was looking at the clock and we were right about at the halfway point. And let's see, she had had how many trades so far? There was the sweater, the eggnog, the wreath, the Santa, and now the snowmobile. So that's 5 trades in the first half of the movie. Guess how many trades happen after this? I think there were 2. Now, I don't want to take away from the little surprise at the end because something sweet does happen, but I was also disappointed because it kind of negated some of what this has already been building up to. I don't know, I was left wanting more. Okay, the rest of the movie, it focused on more of the characters' doubts, lack of confidence, relationship issues, including all of the siblings.
I'm not going to talk to my brother. I haven't spoken to him in almost a year.
Not that there's anything wrong with adding that in, but I didn't see any reason for this to happen.
I need you to stop.
There was no logical explanation for her sudden change of heart, so it felt totally forced, like they were just checking off boxes. What I feel was needed now was something fun, a little bit lighthearted. Like earlier in the movie when there was that pseudo montage I talked about where music was playing while they showed us the email conversation between Dan and Michelle. Well, what if they created another montage of a bunch of trades happening? Maybe some of the offers could even be really funny. I don't know. This just seemed like a good time to lighten the mood and show a better progression of trades while you're at it. Just an idea. Oh well, as you can guess, that didn't happen. So, back at the office, Dan's boss kept putting pressure on him.
They want to know who the house is for.
And on top of that, Michelle broke the bad news that she was calling it off.
I'm gonna miss seeing your face.
Fortunately, that little crisis lasted all of 30 seconds before Dan convinced her sister to let her keep trying.
Think about it.
So let's see. They do get a decent offer for the snowmobile.
All expenses paid, trip for 4 to Hawaii, airfare included.
And in the last 30 minutes, Dan and his brother started mending some fences between them. And get this, his brother is a real estate agent.
Brother Jack is going to help us find a house.
That's convenient. But the next trade, I thought, was too high a jump.
You can trade Navi for a house.
There wasn't even a car in the mix. You see, that felt like the director looking at the time and saying, oh, look, we've got to speed things up. Let's go right to an RV.
Yes.
Can we do a selfie?
Yes.
Well, the last 20 minutes is where more conflicts happen. Everyone seems happy, getting along, until the boss does something unethical. Also, it looks like they're going to get the house.
Guess what?
We found a house. Oh.
You did?
Until they don't.
Bad news. The house fell through.
But then magically everything works out again.
Isn't it the best house you've ever seen?
Yes.
Does it feel like I rushed through that? Yeah, that's kind of how I felt watching it too. Now, I'm not saying that I expect every Hallmark Christmas movie to have amazing chemistry or character development. I do like those, of course. But if they're going to be shy on those 2 things, then I'd say they'd better show me a spectacular story. I thought this one showed some promise, but it fell short in the second half. So I'm giving this one a 2.5. Like I said, it had so much potential, but I felt zero chemistry between these 2 leads. And it looked to me like they were just trying too hard to follow a formula and just check off the requisite boxes. Not to mention, and maybe I'm way overthinking this, but it didn't look like anyone had any fun making this movie. You know what I mean?
Wow, how is that possible?
Think of one of your favorite movies or TV shows. Doesn't have to be a Christmas one, just one of your favorites. Isn't it sometimes obvious when there's a real connection between the cast members?
Come on, Helen.
Like, I've brought up Friends, the TV show, before. Now there's an excellent example.
Look at me. I'm Chandler. Could I be wearing any more clothes?
But this movie was seriously lacking in that area.
This experience taught me that everything in life is kind of a trade.
At least that's how it appeared to me. So I was disappointed. Okay, several months ago, I promised to share with you my top 12 Hallmark Christmas movies from past years. Even though I don't have videos out on these, here is my list. And yes, Crown for Christmas is my absolute favorite so far. I love all the characters and the bonds they form, the humor, the chemistry, the emotions, the character development, and did I mention the chemistry?
The fact is, you had me at sewing kit.
And I know it's a bit of a nod to The Sound of Music, but I'm absolutely okay with that. I love it and I'll watch it over and over again every time. And I still get goosebumps and a little choked up every time I watch it. Keep in mind, there are still so many Hallmark movies that I haven't even seen yet, so I'm always open to hear what your favorites are too. I am so happy to be back, and I truly thank you again for watching. So yes, I'm looking forward to next week, where we'll chat more about our favorite magical movies.
Now look at this. Look what you did, you and your magic beans.